Hello and welcome back. কেমন আছেন আপনারা সবাই? Today we are going to be talking about some tips for public speaking and presenting in English. Public speaking is very scary. It's commonly cited as the number one fear above snakes, above spiders, and above heights. So, কি করতে হবে? Presenting in a foreign language is even harder. And the chances are, if you want to work in a multinational company, you'll have to present at some point. In this lesson, I'm going to give you key tips for presenting clearly and confidently. I'm also going to give you some key phrases you can use to fill in the gaps. So, also additionally, I will help you develop your presenting technique so that you can look and sound like those successful people giving you the motivational TED Talks. Right, so let's get started with the lesson. Tip number 1 is use set phrases to fill gaps. Firstly, let's discuss some key phrases that you can use. The first topic is greeting your audience. You can say the basic good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. You can also say welcome to the event's name, whatever event you're talking about, wherever you're presenting, name it. First, let me introduce myself. I am Rose from just whatever your company's name. You can just fill in that blank there. Beginning your presentation. Let me start by giving you some background information. Or, as you are aware, you can start by saying this also. If you're bringing up a topic that your audience already knows about, then you can use this phrase to introduce it. For example, as you are aware, this product is available in 3 countries, because your audience already knows about it, right? Transitioning to the next topic, how do you change from one topic to another? Before you move on to the next top point, make sure it's clear to your audience. For example, let's move on to our next key point. Or you can say, turning our attention now to the results of our market research. Providing more details. How do you provide more details? You can start with, I'd like to expand on my point about the fall in GDP or about the fall in sales. You can also say, let me elaborate further. Linking to another topic, what do you do for that? As I said at the beginning, you can use this one to remind your audience about a point you made earlier. It can also be used for emphasize. For example, as I said in the beginning, we might have a crisis on the horizon. The same goes for this relates. You can say, this relates to what I was saying earlier. This ties in with, and then you continue to emphasize, you continue whatever you want to say. Now let's talk about emphasizing a point significantly, importantly. You can start by saying the significance of this is ... Or this is important because ... Or we have to remember that. Right, for the next one, how can we make reference to information? We can start by saying based on our findings, or you can say our data shows, or you can also say according to our study. This is a good one. How do you explain visuals? Explaining visuals, you can start by saying, I'd like to illustrate this point by showing you. Right? Or you can just provide a chart and then you can say, this chart shows a breakdown of whatever you are talking about. A breakdown is often used in a presentation to show all of the smaller parts of something bigger. Repeating your point. How do you repeat your point? These phrases are useful for emphasis and helping your audience to also remember and understand what you just said. In other words, you can use this. In other words, then you can say, to put it simply, what I mean to say is. So these are really important words, phrases actually. How do you conclude your presentation? You can say, in conclusion, let me sum up my main points. Then you can even say, thank you for your attention. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Tip number 2 is slow down. Definitely slow down. The number 1 tip I can give you, especially if English is not your first language, is slow down. When we get nervous, we tend to speed up. If you combine this with an accent that the audience isn't used to, your audience will struggle to understand you. This is especially important at the beginning of any speech. You need to give them a bit of time to get used to how you speak. Number 3 is you can use pauses to your advantage. Pauses are so useful. They give us time to process what is said after saying something impactful. I always leave a couple of seconds for the audience to process it. Use these pauses to give yourself time to think and time to have a break. Use them instead of saying, which can sound unprofessional. That's okay, even I use it too. The best speakers make the audience think that the pause has been included for their advantage, when in reality, they just needed to take a second to consider what they're going to say next. Number 4 is do not apologize for your English. What I mean to say is, this is actually controversial, and I'm not going to say that you should never say this, but definitely reconsider saying it. More often than not, when I watch a presentation, someone who's not a native speaker, right? They will start their presentation with, sorry for my English. I personally don't like this. So I think they're doing themselves a disservice because they could take so much more control over the situation by not mentioning that, first of all. Why not try saying something else like, English isn't my first language, but I'm going to try my best here. Instead of seeming unconfident and nervous and embarrassed, you're taking ownership. You're dealing with your circumstances. Number 5 is practice, but don't learn. You can 100% tell the difference between somebody who's delivering a presentation naturally and somebody who has learned a presentation word for word. So a practice presentation is organic and trustworthy. It flows. A learned presentation is rigid, memorized, and a bit stagnant. It doesn't matter if your presentation is ever so slightly different. Each time you practice it, you get better at it. Number 6 is use your cue cards to your advantage. If you're allowed to use cue cards or speaker's notes, I suggest you have them. You must have them. You might not actually need to use them in your presentation, but consider them your insurance policy. If the worst comes to the worst, you get stuck or get stage fright, they will help you get right back on track. Having them in your hand also might make you feel more confident. You never know when you're going to be caught off guard. Number 7 is all about body language. Consider your body language. Think about your body language. Everyone is different, but when I present, I don't like to walk around on stage. I'm very uncoordinated and it's likely I will trip or stumble. So I like to have my feet apart so that I'm steady. I have my cue cards in one hand, but I use both to gesticulate and emphasize. Practice in front of the mirror. Yeah, it's an old advice, but practice, it works. Think about your chest. Think about where you look. Do you focus on one person in the audience or do you just flick around? Think about your nervous tics. What makes you nervous? Mine is touching my hair and stroking my ring or my thumbnail. Try not to do that, even though it's really hard, but try not to do that. Film yourself during delivering a presentation and work out what body language needs to stay and what needs to go. Tip number 8 is dress for the part. Of course, this is definitely a part of public presentation or any kind of presentation. If it's smart casual, I lean towards the smart side. Feeling smart makes you feel more confident. Iron the dress, shine those shoes of yours, and if you want, you can just paint your nails. If you are so inclined, have a small mirror on you so that you can check your teeth. If you have that, you will have a camera on you. Number 9 is watch who you want to sound like. Exactly. My final tip is to learn from the best. Watch a variety of TED Talks or interesting speeches and consider which styles of delivery you like best. Find out more about the speaker and try to channel their confidence and delivery. You can follow the way, but don't mimic. You need to develop your own style. You can just follow, learn something from them, but don't copy them. Being inspired is the best way to do this. Right, that's it for this lesson. So I hope you guys learned something, and I hope now you can improve your public speaking.